We are in Algebra 1, Lesson 12-6. Andres is going to close the door for us, and today is Friday, March 22nd, 2019. We are here talking about a harder version of rational exponents. So, who can tell us what that formula was from the warm-up? Eder takes his hood off. That warm-up and the lesson from yesterday. How do I convert radical form and exponential form?
Wait, actually,
Sergio, can you hand these out too, please? Got to do that as well. Andres, go for it.
b to the root, or
The bth root.
the bth root, and then inside put x to the power of a.
X to the power of a.
Yeah. Or you could do the bth root, and then put x in it, and then parentheses.
Parentheses.
Yeah. And then do all that to the power of a.
Okay, so these two are equivalent. Perfect. You have the two different types of radical form, and those both radical forms are equal to what, Andres?
X to the power of a over b.
A over b. There it is. Everyone have this in your notes. That is important. That is the rule that we're going off of here. That's attendance. There's classcraft. There's Algebra 1. And there is Andres getting 50 XP. Oh, that's, well, you got an extra 10 because I can't click. And then also Jessica, hello, you're watching the video. Example 1. So I only have 2 examples for you. They're slightly harder versions of what we were doing for last night's homework. Example 1. I need to find an equivalent expression to this guy, x to the power of negative 1/5. So now what we're doing is we're applying all of our rules with exponents to rational exponents. So I can rewrite this as a power of 2 things. So I'm going to come down here and I'm just going to do an arrow. This can be rewritten, cannot speak today, rewritten as x to the power of something to the power of something. So I'm going to put something in that box, something in that box. What can that be rewritten as? If I want to separate the fraction from the negative, how can I rewrite that? I want a negative 1 and the fraction. I'm factoring out a negative 1. Anyone want to try to take a shot at that one? I'm factoring out a negative 1 from the negative 1/5. What 2 things, negative 1 and something, gives you negative 1/5? Go for it, Jose. There it is, negative 1 and 1/5. This is equivalent because, as you guys are writing this down, because when I have a power to the power, our rules of exponents state that you need to multiply these two together. All right, so I need to now rewrite all of these in another form. Actually, this one is already an answer. Again, choose all answers that apply. So obviously I can choose C right now. So circle C. That is a rewritten form of this because you can factor out a power. Thank you, Jose. And your XP is right there. So this one is, again, if I go the other direction, if I go forwards instead of backwards, I can multiply 1/5 times negative 1. If I multiply those together, I get back to x to the power of negative 1/5. We're going to be rewriting each of these. So you're going to do arrows for each of these. I need another quiet raised hand to rewrite a with rational exponents instead of radical form. I want it in this exponential form. So I'm using this formula right here on part A. Monse, go for it. Negative 1/5. All right, and Monse, would you circle A or would you cross out A? You would circle A. A is an answer. So these 2 things, this 5th root of x to the negative 1 is equivalent to x to the power of negative 1/5. All right, thank you, Monse. All right, I need to rewrite B using another rule of exponents. If I have something in the denominator, I can move this x to the power of 5 to the numerator if I do something. Let's see if anyone can remember that rule. You're allowed to switch numerator and denominator if you do something to that exponent. Who wants to take a shot at it? Do you still have your card, Fernando?
Wait, the exponent?
Yes. Never mind. Who wants to do this for us? That Uh-oh. Uh-oh. No one has their hand raised. Jose's kind of a half hand. Yeah, you'll still get XP, Jose. Go for it.
Maybe x to negative 5.
It is x to the negative 5. Yeah, so everyone write it down. I'm going to rewrite the rule from our notes from 12-1. But it is x to the negative 5. So, Jose, would you circle or cross out b?
Cross out.
Cross out, yep. So this is close, but it needed to be negative 1/5. So it's not b. The answers are a and c. And here is the rule that Jose is using. So let me back up and give Jose his 50 XP. Here is the rule. If you have x to the negative a, that is rewritten as 1 over x to the power of positive a. That's 1/2 of the rule. So that's part 1 of the rule. Part 2 of the rule states the opposite. If I have 1 over x to the negative a, that is equal to x to the power of a. This rule 2 is being used, although it's kind of backwards. It's backwards now because I'm just switching from a negative to a positive here, but up here I'm switching from a positive to a negative. As long as you switch signs, you are allowed to use these rules. These rules state that you just need to switch the sign or multiply by negative 1. However you want to interpret that. All right. So after example 1, how well do you think you can do these types of problems? Just to 5. And be honest with me, I'll take that into consideration. If you could have gotten A and C by yourself, knowing those rules, you're giving me a 5. Fist of 5. All right, I see lots of 3s, some 4s, 1, 5. All right, thank you. Let's go to example 2. Which expressions are equivalent to y to the power of 0.75? All right, so I'm going to rewrite this y to the 0.075 or 0.75 power in terms of a fraction. So I need to convert a decimal to a fraction. Does anyone know the fraction version of 0.75? Ooh, so many hands. I see 3 hands. I'm going to still wait for some more time. What is the fraction version of 0.75? I still only see 3 hands. 4 hands. People are still thinking. Gunnar, go for it.
3/4.
Yes, so it should be rewritten as, so y to the power, say the whole thing. Y to the power. So y to the power of, there it is, 3/4. Thank you, Gunnar. All right, so we have rewritten this. Yeah, if you want review on how to convert from decimals to fractions, you can talk to me after we start working on homework. So now, again, we need to rewrite each of these letter options. Rewrite, rewrite, and rewrite. If we turn everything into the same form, again, I could have made everything into radical form, or I could have made everything into exponential form. I just kind of randomly thought we should choose exponential form. Usually that's going to be the easiest one to do. So I'm going to write everything in exponential form here. Quiet raised hand with your card if you still have it. How do I rewrite A in exponential form? Josie. There it is. Y to the power of 3/4. Thank you, Josie. Your card can be turned in. Pausing, 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 and we're on to B. Who can rewrite B in exponential form? Oh, it's in exponential form, but I need to use a rule to make it a simplified exponential form. I see Jose's hand. I'm going to give preference to people that have cards if possible. Jose is definitely our backup if we need him. How can I use rules? And it's this rule that we used all the way right here. I didn't write down the rule on the side, but I guess if I want to, I could if I don't see enough hands. I see, do you have your card still, Sergio? You do. Anyone else that has their card want to participate? Andres does not. He can be a backup. Go for it, Sergio.
Is it y to over to the exponent of 6/24?
You're really, really close. So I'll help us out here. So you're using the rule correctly where you're going to multiply these two together. So here's our rule right on the side, everyone. So our rule, I don't even know what number this would be. These aren't even number 1 and 2, but the rule states this. If I have x to the power of a, all of that to the power of b, that is equal to x to the power of a times b. You multiply the exponents. And that's what Sergio's doing. I think Sergio just made a tiny mistake in multiplying 6 times 1/8. And I will do that on the side as well. 1/8 times 6 is the same thing as 1/8 times 6 divided by 1. And when you do multiplication of fractions, you just multiply straight through. 1 times 6, that's the top. 8 times 1, that's the bottom. So Sergio, what is the top?
6.
Bottom is 8. There it is. So this is now, read the whole thing, Sergio.
Y to the exponent of 6/8.
Perfect. Y to the exponent of 6/8. That is well said, yeah. And do you want to simplify it for that, or simplify that for us as well, Sergio?
Y to 3/4.
Perfect. All right. And I forgot to ask our last volunteer, but Sergio, I'm going to ask you that final question. Should we circle or should we cross out B? Circle, yep. That is, these two things are definitely equivalent, so we should be saying that is an equivalent form. All right. Josie, I'm going to come back to you. Should we circle or should we cross out A? Circle, yes. These two are also equivalent forms. So Josie, I think I got your XP. I did. And then Sergio, there's your XP. All right. And finally, I need a volunteer looking for people that still have cards to rewrite C in that exponential form. Gunnar, I think you participated already, right? I think so. Jenny, go for it. 3/4. Should we circle or should we cross out C? Circle, yeah. It happened to be A, B, and C. Sometimes it will be D. Sometimes none of them will match with that form. But in this case, it was A, B, and C. So thank you, Jenny. And that is all that I have for you guys. Those are the types of problems that you will see on tonight's homework. Are there any questions before you write our summaries?
Why?
Why?
Just keep that.
Why anything? Yeah, go ahead and write your summaries now. Homework should be up on Khan Academy already.